Hi everyone, my name's Robin, and I apologize in advance. This isn't going to be a very, professional screencast because I don't do this sort of thing very often. This is my first Minecraft screencast, certainly. But I discovered that the frame machine tutorials that were out there were all not at the level of detail that I wanted, or far too complicated in the sense of needing lots and lots of resources. So this is my tutorial on how to make a very simple RedPower 2 frame tunnel borer, and tunnel borers are a good start because they're easy to retrieve. You just run along the tunnel and get it back. This is intended to be a mining machine, and the point here was to use as few resources as possible. Except for these things over here, the scaffolds and the canvas bag and the tools and the cobblestone, everything else here is what I got from taking my machine apart. So this is everything that you need. 10 frames, whole bunch of glass covers, some cobblestone panels, block breakers, 5 redstone tube frames, cobblestone jacketed wire, red alloy wire, 2 timers, a chest. I use an iron chest because I like them, 2 frame motors, a battery box, and a redstone torch. The frame motors are by far the most expensive part of this process, not so much because of the resources they consume, but because of the resources required to build them. You must have 11 diamond to start this process. You need 9 diamond to make a block, 2 diamond to make a handsaw, and then you carve up the handsaw, and eventually you end up with a diamond draw plate. There's plenty of information online about how to do that, but the point is you need 11 diamond even to show up with frames. Now you get 6 of those back. If you break down the bits of the block that you're left over with, you get 6 of the diamonds back, but still. So I'm just going to go through and build this thing. I'm not going to talk in a lot of detail about every step that I'm making because there's documentation attached to this video. I've got a page where I wrote up all of the documentation that I needed for this process. Now I'm using glass covers when I'm using covers here, so let's talk about the cover versus panel thing. They're both kinds of micro blocks that you make with RedPower 2. Panels are blocks that when attached to a frame things will stick to them, so you can put things on the panels. And more to the point, when the frame moves, the things that are attached to the panels move with it. Covers are the opposite. Covers are used for when you don't want anything to stick to the frame. In particular, the reason I've got 49 covers is because the entire outside of this thing is covered with covers, which I guess is why they're called covers. Because as this tunnel borer is going down the tunnel, if a frame, so the way frames work is that a frame motor moves all the frames that are attached to it, and all the frames that are attached to that, and so on down the line. And then anything that is directly attached to those frames is also moved. Now, as the tunnel borer is moving down the tunnel that it's creating, if the frame touches the stone of the tunnel itself, it will try to move the stone of the tunnel along with it. That's not going to work because it's just, it's immobile. It's the bedrock. It's not bedrock. It's the wall of the tunnel. It's not going anywhere, right? If you have a cover over the frame, on the other hand, that basically says to the frame, the whole frame system, okay, so past here you don't need to pick anything up. So the covers are the skin of the frame system that define where you don't have to try to make a frame machine out of the system anymore. We've got a couple of panels here because we actually have things that we want to put on them. One of them is going to be a lever. Ooh, I don't seem to have gotten the lever. That's unfortunate. I'll have to do something about that later. Yes, I'm going to have to go back upstairs and get a lever. We'll deal with that in a minute. Let's see. But this guy... Sorry, I've got my notes over on the side here. This guy gets the first frame motor. Poink. Poink. most of the covers are used on the outside. The reason that I'm using glass covers, by the way, is that in several places, particularly with the motors, you need to see what you're doing through the structure. I need to actually look up under the structure and see the motors. And obviously, you can't do that if there's a wall of cobblestone in the way. So, in particular here, I end up having to actually look up under here to set the motor correctly, at least when it's going in one direction. Now, that really only means that I need glass covers in these particular spots. I could use cobblestone or something else everywhere else, but I decided not to because I kind of like it. It's pretty. Okay, back with a lever. Come on, thank you. Okay, lever goes right here. I want it on, and I'll show you why. Here's a timer. Whoops. Sorry, I need to get under things later as well. There's that hole there. There we go. Okay, so this is a timer, which I'm going to set to... yeah, set to 10 seconds. Okay, that'll do. And as long as that lever is going, the timer won't signal. So now the timer goes, but I don't want the timer to go because I really don't want my construction to start moving while I'm working on it. That would be annoying. Okay, let me set the motors while I'm here. Let's see, the motors start with left motor is arrow up. And pointing, did I really? Crap. Sorry, apparently in the process of trying to be super minimal with my setup, I got a little too minimal. You need the screwdriver to make sure that the motors are doing the right thing. So the way frame motors work is that wherever the arrow is, that's the frame that it tries to grab and move. It only grabs and moves that frame on that side. It does not, in particular, move itself, but it moves that frame and all the things that are connected to the frame, and that aren't, separated from the frame by covers. So, as I said, I have notes to myself, and they say the arrow is up, and it points to the right. The right as facing the machine from here, which means that this one is arrow down, and also pointing to the right. Fantastic. You probably noticed that there are covers here and here, and the reason for that has to do with the inchworm drive that this thing uses. As I mentioned, frame motors can't move themselves, which means that to move a whole machine in concert, that's okay when that happens. To move a whole machine in concert, you need to use what's called an inchworm drive, which is a system that first has one motor move a part of the structure, and then the other motor move the other half of the structure, and they basically play catch up. The two motors play catch up with each other. Sorry, that cobblestone was only there to start off the construction process. So this is the inchworm drive. If I throw that, I'm sorry, this is most of the inchworm drive. There's one more thing that's necessary. If I throw that lever, it would the system would move forward half a step, but it wouldn't actually move the whole way, because that motor there would never get activated, which we're about to fix. I need panel. Again, panels have things stuck to them. If I used a cobblestone cover here, then this torch would not move with the rest of the system and would get knocked off as soon as the first movement occurred. Okay, so what's going to happen is if I throw that switch, the timer will kick off that motor. That motor will tell these frames to move one block to the right. These frames are attached to that motor and that battery box and nothing else. So these 5 blocks and nothing else move one space to the right. The redstone torch then activates that motor. That motor moves these frames and everything they're attached to, which includes this guy, one step to the right, at which point this guy's back in position next to everything the way he is now. And then at that point the whole structure has moved one to the right in 2 parts. And then the timer goes off and it goes on. It happens all again, so you'll get to see that momentarily. Okay, so now we get to tubes. So we've been using regular frames before, but these are redstone tube frames. We actually do we end up needing the redstone? Yes, we need the redstone. Okay, and the reason that these are 2 frames is because we're going to be dumping things into a chest, which, you know, not much point in mining if you don't put it anywhere. There we go. There's a chest. You can see it's a little bit subtle, but you can see that the redstone tube that's in there attached to the chest. So, great. Poink, poink, poink. Can I get up there? Oh, almost. Sorry, I'm just not much of a jump puzzle person. Okay, there we go. So that's that. And yes, okay. So these tubes come from the block breakers, which we're placing now. And each and every one is pointing the wrong way. Actually, no, that guy's pointing the right way. You can tell because the big circle's on that side. Let's fix the other guys. Fantastic. And you can see that the tubes are attached to the block breakers, and the block breakers are facing down the corridor, which is what we want. Okay, and there's only one other control structure involved, and that's here. So we need to have something activate the block breakers. This turns out to be kind of tremendous pain in the ass, and the reason for that is that you need a bunch of steps to. What we want to do is use this redstone tube. We want to light up this whole redstone tube, and that'll activate all the block breakers. It's a bit of a pain to actually make that connection, however. So we've got our actual control circuit there, and we've got a redstone wire leading from our control circuit, and we've got cobblestone jacketed wire, and that is actually what makes the connection. You need the redstone wire and the cobblestone jacketed wire. As you can see now, the entire system here lights up. This timer is going in its default, which is like 2 seconds, which is much faster than the 10 seconds of the actual Inchworm drive. This is a good thing because we want the blocks to get broken, you know, often, and just for amusement. Let me actually show you the breakers doing their thing. Poink. You can see it going into the chest. There it is in the chest. Yay, very exciting. Okay, so this is the entire structure completely functional, except we really need those covers. If we don't have covers on every surface, then just about every surface, then any block that they become adjacent to, like the entire freaking tunnel that they're going to build, will stick, and once it's stuck to the tunnel by any point, so we can't miss anything. If it's stuck to the tunnel anywhere, it will simply stop moving, which is bad. So I've got to go and put covers on everything, which is very boring. Note, by the way, that glass covers and panels do come back when you break them off, which is so very nice. The one disadvantage, I find glass covers cool looking. The one disadvantage is it's kind of hard to tell what parts I've already done. Anyway, this is a very boring process, so I'm going to go and do the covering and come back. I just wanted to explicitly point out, so that we're all on the same page, that any surface that might touch anything else in the world has to be covered. This includes tops of things, like the frames up here, and it includes bottoms of things. You have to get the underside of all the frames in this system. The nice thing about rebuilding this thing rather than building it is that I can do things like use the count of remaining covers to figure out what bits I missed. In fact, I think originally I was covering a couple of things I didn't need to cover. As a slightly random side comment, by the way, if this thing gets flooded by water, it will stop because the redstone torch will get knocked off. I figure I could probably fix that by surrounding that thing on, 3 sides with with covers or panels. But I actually don't want to swim through large amounts of water to find this thing, so I've left it that way. So let's see how it goes. Doom, 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 doom. 10 seconds. Boink, boink. And there we go. The reason that I have it on 10 seconds... Do I have it on 10 seconds or 20 seconds? 10 seconds. The reason that I have it on 10 seconds is that I want to be able to actually walk away from this thing and not have it be thousands and thousands and thousands of blocks away when I come back. I want to be able to leave it for a while. So, it's actually already bored this particular tunnel. Now, the problem... This design is minimal. It requires a fairly limited amount of resources. It is, however, not terribly easy to use because you'll have to take my word for it that it will in fact go down and break a bunch of blocks. It's not terribly easy to use because any change of direction or any movement of the thing you have to do by hand, which I'm going to show you now. You'll find notes on. You'll find the description of how this thing works includes complete notes on the transition that I'm doing now, which is moving it back where it came from. So pretend for a moment that it was way down a tunnel and you ran after it and you caught up with it, and now you're moving it back. Damn it. And now you're moving it back to the head of the tunnel so that you can move it over one. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just checking my notes here. There we go. Reverse direction, break the redstone torch. Change the left motor to arrow down and pointing left. So, left motor. You shift right click to change the side the arrow's on, by the way. Arrow down and pointing left, which means that the right motor must be arrow up and pointing left. Again, the glass comes in handy here. Oh, come on. There we go. Arrow up and pointing left. Fantastic. And your redstone torch. Plank. I may need another cobblestone panel for this part. Yeah, I am going to need another cobblestone panel. I'm sorry, I do not need another cobblestone panel because I forgot part of my own instructions. So, having pulled the torch and the control circuit off, you change one of the motors and you activate it. There we go. Now I activated that manually, and what that does is it means that these two are over the, these two are over the panels, which is necessary for this whole thing to work. And yes, excellent. Okay, so this is now going to move to the left, I hope. What did I do wrong? Oh, well, that would certainly be a problem. The redstone torch was in the wrong place. Quick. There we go. That's much better. And that's far enough, so I break it. Okay, so we've got it back in approximately its original position. It's actually a little further along than I would like. How do I fix this? I am going to change this guy. Oh. Oh, jeez. Okay, so that guy's pointing to the right, so I'm going to activate him. except that he has no power. Sorry, it takes me a second to work out the whole frames thing in my head. If I think this is probably the easiest way. Just give this guy some power. Sorry, it gets a little bit weird when you're not working with the engine design, but just manually doing things. Well, I'm going to hope that this is an interesting learning experience for you guys and not incredibly obnoxious. Why is that guy? There's probably a panel there. I'm just going to manually move it back into moving to the right position, which I have written down, and run it for one tick. Shouldn't be a problem. Thank you. Okay, so we're going back to the original setup here, so the redstone, that's not the redstone torch. The redstone torch goes there. And the frame motor goes here. And the battery box goes there. And checking my notes, the left motor is arrow up and pointing to the right. Like I said, this design is cheap, but it's a bit of a pain. Arrow down and pointing to the right. Always do that. There we go. Okay. Fantastic. Move everything to the right one step. Always good to keep a lever on you for this reason. We're working with frames, devices, and we move one more step to the right. Note, by the way, that the lever gets knocked off. That will happen anywhere that there isn't a panel, and you can't put a panel here. So, okay, so it is now back in position, and now things get extra weird, because what we want to do is move it over here so that it can bore another tunnel. This ends up being something that just needs to be done manually. So, yeah. Power is going to be interesting, but that's okay. So, let's see. I've not actually done this before. Hopefully it works out alright. Since it's already pointing down, since I'm down and he's down, fantastic. Okay. Click, click. Look at that. Whole thing, I picked the right motor. Excellent. That worked very well. So the whole thing has moved one block over, and is now, well, almost the whole thing. The motor didn't come with, as you saw, but that was expected. And is now ready to bore another hole. Got our lever back, and I need to make sure that this guy is pointing the way that he should be pointing. Arrow down and to the right, and we're going to set our control circuit back up, which is a lever. Let me throw a lever because I don't want to deal with this timer yet. I really wish that timers defaulted to a much oh, that's interesting. Any signal stops the timer. I thought it was only the back signal. Okay. I really wish that timers defaulted to a much longer cycle so that you didn't have to jump like crazy when you first put them in. Okay, so 20 seconds. And we throw the switch. I'm going to speed that up a little bit just for your guys' sake. Oops. That was a little bit too sped up. Da-da-da. The nice thing here is that I've got the previous tunnel to work with. There we go. Pardon me while I got out some torches. As a random side comment, by the way, because I screwed this up once, when you're if you come and follow this guy. Really? See, and that's why other people do their videos in creative mode. If you follow this guy down the tunnel and why did we stop? Huh, I'm really not sure what happened there. Something moved this out of position. If you, I'm sorry, I keep not talking. If you follow this guy down the tunnel and leave torches for yourself, you'll have trouble on the way back because it will actually get blocked by the torches. So when you try to pull it back out of the hole, it'll get blocked by the torches and things won't work. Okay, so there's a couple of options here. Probably the most likely one is that something doesn't have a cover and is stuck. But I think I was wrong. I think what happened is that the presence of something in the hallway, like the creeper, simply got the timing of the motor out of whack. So that this guy didn't activate when he couldn't activate when he hit the redstone torch, and since he didn't activate when he first hit the redstone torch, he's not going to activate from the torches being there. So let's just try replacing the redstone torch. Yes, okay. Fantastic. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, so no, I understand now. So the cycle on this guy is too close. There we go. The cycle on the rear guy is too close to the cycle on these guys, so the block breakers were not clearing the blocks out fast enough, and again, the redstone torch doesn't pulse, it sends a continuous signal, so if it doesn't work the first time, it's not going to work at all. So now we should be fine because the block breakers are on a faster cycle than the overall control signal. Slurp. 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 Okay, I think that's enough demonstration. I'm going to shut this video off, and after it's been boring for a while, I'm going to come back and work on a better design.